What if I told you that your future is not something distant, to be chased with effort and anxiety? It is already coded within you, like a silent frequency waiting for permission to emerge. What we call the future self is not a construction, but a vibrational memory, a holographic imprint that the field holds until you align with it. Life does not respond to pretty phrases or loose mental desires. The quantum field listens to coherence, the alignment of heart, mind, and body. When that alignment happens, there is no struggle, only resonance. Your presence emits a signal so clear that the reality around you has no choice but to reorganize in response. Bruce Lipton explains that our cells do not only read the external environment, but also the internal one, beliefs, emotions, and perceptions. When that environment is coherent, the entire body adjusts to a new possibility. Joe Dispenza adds that when we feel the state of the already realized, the brain and the heart emit an electromagnetic signature that literally attracts compatible events. This means it is not effort that creates, but tuning. At every moment, you can teach your nervous system to call normal what still feels like a dream. The practice is not about chasing, but about adjusting inwardly until the field recognizes the note and returns its melody. In this video, we will walk through 3 simple steps: understanding the internal quantum blueprint that is already recorded within you, learning to tune into the signal of your already realized self, and practicing a quick ritual to activate this code in daily life. Because the future is not manufactured, it emerges when your present sings the right note. The future self you desire is not a distant promise, dependent on superhuman effort or the goodwill of the universe. It is a quantum project already imprinted in your field of possibilities. Think of it as an architectural plan that already exists, even if the physical building is not yet visible. This blueprint does not need to be invented, only remembered. It is like finding a forgotten sheet of music within yourself. The melody has already been written, but it can only be heard when you choose to play. Life does not ask you to create the future from scratch, but to align with the vibrational design that is already pulsing inside you. The mind, accustomed to linear logic, insists on believing it will only reach that future once it earns or deserves it. But in the quantum field, time does not work that way. What is already recorded as frequency can be accessed in the present when you learn to resonate with that signature. This understanding dissolves the anxiety of pursuit. There is no not yet to be overcome. There is only the remembrance of who you already are in essence. The future is not a finish line, but a vibrational note waiting to be tuned in the now. Recognizing that your future is a blueprint, not a promise, is exchanging expectation for trust. It is knowing that life is not testing you, but simply waiting for you to tune in so it can reveal what has already been written in the field of your consciousness. Many believe the universe responds to beautiful words, to phrases repeated aloud, or to intentions declared with passion. But the field does not read speeches, it reads signals. And the signal is not formed by what you say, but by the coherence between what you think, feel, and embody in the body. A simple example, you can say, "I trust life," but if your breath is shallow, your chest contracted, and your mind on constant alert, the signal emitted is not trust, it is vigilance. The field responds to that state, not to the words that contradict it. Joe Dispenza explains that when the heart and brain enter into synchrony, they emit a measurable and coherent electromagnetic field. That coherence is what magnetizes new realities. No matter how elaborate the speech, if the body does not vibrate in consonance, the emission is diffuse, without the power to reorganize context. This means phrases are not useless, but they must be anchors for real states. Saying, "I am abundant" may be just noise, or it may be a key, if accompanied by a body breathing calmly and a mind open to recognizing small evidences of abundance in the present. The signal is always stronger than the speech. When heart, mind, and body say the same thing, life listens. When they say different things, the universe returns static. That is why the path is not to speak louder, but to feel more truthfully. The body does not forget. Every repeated emotion, every state sustained over time, creates a vibrational memory recorded in the nervous system. This memory functions like a frequency address. The body becomes accustomed to returning to it, even if the mind says it wants something else. This is why many people desire change but feel as though something keeps pulling them back to the past. It is not lack of willpower, it is the body calling what it recognizes as normal, even if that normal is pain, scarcity, or anxiety. Biology seeks familiarity before novelty. The good news is that this memory can be re-educated. When you intentionally cultivate states of gratitude, presence, or trust, even for just a few minutes each day, you begin to teach the body a new normal. Over time, that state ceases to be the exception and becomes the base. Bruce Lipton explains that cells respond to the internal environment. If the body repeats daily the chemistry of peace or joy, biology begins to reorganize around that signature. What was once just a spark becomes a stable landscape. Vibrational memory reminds us that tuning into the future is not about imagining intensely, but about training the body to call home what once seemed like a dream. The future becomes accessible when the nervous system learns to recognize it as familiar. It is not always lack of effort that keeps us from accessing the desired state. Many times, it is internal detuning, unprocessed emotions, inherited beliefs, and protective patterns that generate static in the signal we emit. It's like trying to listen to music on a poorly tuned radio. The melody exists, but it comes through distorted. These unfinished emotional memories remain imprinted in the body and the mind. Pain that was never felt turns into rigidity, distrust, and unconscious repetition. And when the field receives this scrambled signal, it returns situations that confirm the very noise. It is not failure, it is simply vibrational feedback. Bruce Lipton explains that old beliefs, often inherited from family or environment, continue to modulate our biology until they are brought into the light of consciousness. The body then keeps reacting as if it were in danger, even when the present is safe. Recognizing detuning is not condemning yourself, but perceiving the field's invitation for fine adjustment. Life is not saying you failed, but rather something here is asking to be reorganized. Friction is not rejection, it is an opportunity to tune the instrument. When we embrace this perspective, detuning ceases to be a sign of incapacity and becomes proof that we are in process. The noise does not mean the music has ended, it only means it's time to turn the dial and find the right note again. The heart can be seen as the conductor of the entire inner orchestra. It sets the emotional tone, the vibration that guides the rest of the body. The brain, in turn, acts as the tuner. It organizes thoughts, bringing clarity and structure to the music initiated by the heart. When the two work together, the melody becomes coherent and magnetic. Studies by Greg Braden and the HeartMath Institute show that the heart emits an electromagnetic field far stronger than that of the brain. This field influences not only our own body, but also the environment around us. When the heart beats in states such as gratitude or compassion, the brain more easily finds patterns of clarity and creative solutions. But when there is dissonance, the result is noise. The heart may want to trust while the brain insists on control, or the brain may dream big while the heart vibrates with fear. This lack of coherence generates confusing signals to the field, which then responds with equally confusing scenarios. The practice is to align. Deep breathing, open posture, and the recollection of a true emotion create the foundation for the heart to lead with serenity. The mind then reorganizes around this tone, adjusting thoughts and decisions in harmony with the emotional vibration. When heart, brain, and body breathe the same note, the signal emitted is clean and powerful. Reality around you cannot ignore it. It begins to move like an orchestra, faithfully following the conductor's baton. Much of our energy is spent trying to force life to happen at the rhythm the mind idealizes. This pressure creates tension in the body and anxiety in the mind, generating precisely the opposite of what we seek. Instead of opening space for the new, this insistence closes the field and maintains the repetition of the old. Allowing, on the other hand, is a choice of trust. It is the act of sustaining presence and inner safety, even when the result has not yet appeared. Permission creates an environment where life can reveal itself in its own cadence, without being suffocated by the urgency of control. Joe Dispenza shows that the body can only access creative states when it leaves survival mode. As long as we keep pressing, the nervous system interprets threat and stays on alert. When we allow, we signal to the body that it is safe to relax. and in that state, possibilities become visible. Allowing is not giving up, but aligning. It is like opening the windows to let the wind in, instead of trying to grab air with your hands. The future already exists as frequency. What is missing is not effort, but tuning. When we trade pressure for permission, the field begins to respond naturally. Life ceases to be a battlefield and becomes a dance floor, where each step is guided by trust instead of urgency. Sometimes, when everything seems to collapse, we interpret it as failure or punishment. But in the quantum field, this collapse is merely the decoherence of an old pattern. What was once sustained by beliefs, emotions, and habits loses force when you begin to vibrate at a different frequency. Just as a particle ceases to remain in a fixed form when it changes state, our old identities dissolve when they no longer find resonance. This dissolution may bring silence, emptiness, and even confusion, but it is simply the space required for the new to take shape. Bruce Lipton reminds us that the body responds to the internal environment. When you exchange the chemistry of anxiety for the chemistry of trust, cells once conditioned to stress begin to reorganize. This may feel strange, because the old pattern is literally dissolving. It is important to understand that this silence is not absence of progress, but a sign that the field is rearranging. Life removes old pieces to make room for the new. The discomfort of the interval is part of renewal. Therefore, when the old falls apart, do not interpret it as punishment. See it as proof that the past has lost the right to command the present. Silence is the prelude to synchronicity, and emptiness is the cradle of what is about to be born. Many believe that in order to change their lives, they must return to the past and fix every mistake, every wound, every memory. But transformation does not happen through historical repair. It happens through the shift of the vibrational signature you emit in the present. The past has already served its purpose. It shaped the body, taught patterns, and recorded memories. But the quantum field does not read old stories. It reads the frequency you sustain now. If that frequency changes, the external reflection changes as well, regardless of the narrative that came before. This does not mean denying pain or erasing memories. It means honoring them as part of the journey, but not allowing them to define the note you emit today. The story can remain as learning, but the emotional signature can be completely renewed. In practice, it is like changing the key of a song. The melody may remain the same, but by shifting the tonality, the entire feeling it conveys transforms. The same happens with your life. You don't need to rewrite every old chapter. You just need to change the vibration that colors your experiences. Rewriting the signature is therefore choosing the state you want to inhabit and sustaining it until the body recognizes it as normal. It is not about correcting the past, but about creating the present in coherence with the future that already exists in potential. Some live only by intention, trying to control every detail of the path. Others get lost in surrender, waiting for everything to happen without direction. The point of power is in the balance, clarity of purpose united with trust in the flow of life. Intention defines the beginning, the magnetic north of the journey. It works like the rudder of a boat, it points the direction. But if intention is not paired with surrender, we end up trying to force the tide, wasting energy and creating frustration. Surrender, on the other hand, is the recognition that we do not need to control the how. The field organizes circumstances, encounters, and opportunities in ways the mind could never plan. It is like adjusting the sail so that the wind can do its work. Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza remind us that when the mind and the heart enter coherence, the body begins to emit a clear signal, and it is that signal that attracts compatible experiences. Intention sets the frequency. Surrender allows life to orchestrate the corresponding scenario. Balancing intention and surrender is living with gentle firmness, walking with clarity, yet loose enough to be surprised. It is not about abdicating control, but about trusting that the field knows how to organize better than our fear would ever allow. The future does not manifest in occasional big leaps, but in micro choices made daily that train the body to live the new frequency. Embodiment means walking as the one who already is, letting each gesture carry the signature of the realized self. It is in the repetition of details that the new identity consolidates. Think of how the body learns, through practice. Just as a musician tunes their instrument every day, you teach your nervous system that the desired state is your new normal. Upright posture, deep breathing, words chosen with presence, all of these train the body to resonate with the frequency of the future. Embodiment does not demand perfection, only consistency. Small acts, making a decision without fear, responding with calm where once there was reactivity, taking a deep breath before speaking. Each micro-gesture is like a note reinforcing the melody of the new life. When the mind insists on waiting for external proof, the body can already live the internal proof. Repeating these small practices creates neuroplasticity. Old pathways weaken, and new ones become more accessible until they turn automatic. Daily embodiment is, in essence, bringing the future into the now, not as fantasy or performance, but as a physiological and vibrational choice. The field responds when it sees coherence, and coherence is born when each breath and each step already carry the signal of what you wish to become. Bruce Lipton shows us that when we repeat coherent emotional states, the body literally reorganizes. Beliefs cease to be mere ideas and become chemistry, posture, breathing. The internal environment becomes fertile ground for new experiences, and life begins to reflect this renewed biology. Neville Goddard deepens this vision with his famous idea of living in the end. The secret is not waiting for the future to arrive, but feeling now the reality already fulfilled. When that feeling ceases to be an exception and becomes the standard, the outer world naturally adjusts. The central point is that your future is not something to be chased. It already exists as frequency. It is up to you to tune into the right signal and allow that vibrational signature to become your new normal. Each conscious breath, each minimal gesture of coherence is a step in that alignment. That is why the practice is not about forcing, but about adjusting. Tune your body as if it were an instrument until heart, mind, and actions sing the same note. This is the melody the field listens to, not your isolated intentions, but your coherent presence. Leave in the field as a seal the phrase, "I align with my inner quantum code." Repeat it not as an empty mantra, but as a bodily reminder of who you already are. Because the future does not arrive, it emerges when your presence vibrates the exact note that has always existed within you.